Welcome back to More Sip the Tally. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and today on the More Sip the Tally Power Rankings, we're going to talk about our number 3 team, which is a tie from yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are the returning Super Bowl champions. They're number 3 on this Power Rankings, and let's start with their quarterback room. Pat Mahomes, who I think is probably the best player in the league right now. Stats last year for Pat: 401 completions out of 597 attempts, 67.2% completion percentage, 4,183 yards, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Carson Wentz is his backup, 17 for 24, 163 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And the third quarterback didn't have any stats last year. He is Chris Ludicon. I think that's how you say it. And if I messed it up, charge it to my head, not my heart. But Pat's the guy in that room. All significant snaps Pat made. So this room will be judged strictly off of what Pat did last year, because he took pretty much all the significant snaps. Let's go on to their running back room, where they did lose a piece of that room, and what I think is a significant piece. McKinnon. McKinnon was their receiving back, and so but let's talk about the people that's here, not the ones that's gone. We'll start with Isaiah Pacheco, one of the hardest runners in football right now. Just under 1,000 yards, 935 yards, 7 touchdowns. Also caught 44 passes for 244 yards. And that's a part of his game that I'm not sure if he actually catch more balls, or they're going to let Clyde do it. Because Clyde did some of everything when he was in college, and Clyde's a skilled pass catcher. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 70 rushes, 233 yards, 17 catches, 188 yards. But again, like I was about to say, McKinnon was their pass catching back last year. For the most part, if McKinnon was in, it was in pass catching situations. So it'll be, I'll be surprised to see who they put in that situation this year, if they don't just let Pacheco do it all. The third back is Neneric Prince. He didn't have any stats coming in. Let's talk about the wide receiving room. Speed, and more speed. Rashee Rice, coming off of his rookie year last year, 79 catches, 938 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Now, he hasn't been disciplined yet, and I don't know if he will be, but I'm sure he will be disciplined at some point. If he has been disciplined already, I just don't know about it. But I'm sure at some point he'll be disciplined to miss some games. But for now, we're going to act like he's not, because he hasn't been yet. And if he has, I don't know about it yet. But also in that room, Marquise Hollywood Brown played with the Cardinals last year. 51 catches, 574 yards, 4 touchdowns. But he only caught 50% of his balls last year. And I think that partly was to do with the quarterback situation and the way they was using him. They drafted the fastest man coming out of the combine, Xavier Worthy. So that's more speed in that room to go with Hollywood. Justin Watson last year, 27 catches, 460 yards. Kadarius Toney, who has been up and down, more downs than up last year, with some healthy scratches in the playoffs. 27 catches, 169 yards. And they also brought back Mecole Hardman, who's another speedster, 14 catches, 118 yards. And I think those 14 catches are just with the Chiefs, because Mecole played with the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken, the first part of last year. But they brought him back, and he's back again. They traded for him, then they brought him back this year. So that's their wide receiver room. Fast. And I don't think they're going to have an issue with drops like they had last year. The tight end room. Travis Kelce, one of the best to ever do it. 93 catches, 984 yards, 5 touchdowns. But it's a guy you just can't defend, because he don't really know what route he running to the ball snap a lot of times. He just running to a space. Pat know the general area he's going to be in, and they get it to him. The backup is Noah Gray, 28 catches, 305 yards. Then they drafted Jared Wiley out of TCU. Let's talk about the guys that are going to block for Pat and the running backs. Wanya Morris is the left tackle. He graded out at 55.6. Joe Tooney, who I have a lot of respect for, 74.9. Creed Humphreys, one of the best centers in the game, 81.4. Trey Smith, 74.6 at right guard. And Jawan Taylor, 49.8. From the first game of the year, everybody say Jawan Taylor was false starting, but sometimes they called it, sometimes they didn't. Was he timing the snap up? Maybe, maybe not. But he knows the snap count, so he knows when Pat's going to snap the ball. So he's just basically getting the jump on some people, and it is what it is. But that's their offensive line. They lost a quality backup. I can't remember the guy's name, but he played against the Ravens as a backup guard, and I thought he would be like a weak link in that game. He was not. He was not. And I think that game got that kid paid with whatever new team he was on. And I spoke about it earlier in the countdown. I just don't remember the team. Let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. Base 4-3 defense. They were a defensive team last year, and the offense kind of came around in the playoffs. But for the most part, their defense led them all year long. Led by none other than Chris Jones. Chris Jones is the premier interior defensive lineman in the NFL right now. On that front with Chris Jones is George Karlaftis playing defensive end, Michael Danner, the other defensive end, and the other interior defensive lineman, Derek Nottie. Karlaftis, 10.5 sacks last year, matching Chris Jones' 10.5 sacks. Michael Danner had 6.5, and Derek Nottie had 1. They got a lot of push, and Chris made plays. Chris made timely sacks. He didn't have a lot of sacks. He had timely. A lot of his sacks came, okay, it's fourth quarter. They trying to get back into the game. Let me make a play. He didn't have a lot of sacks like 18, 19 like some of the other guys, but his sacks were timely and in crucial situations. And basically, he flipped the switch in crunch time. That's what Chris did. Their linebackers. They had 4 good linebackers last year, enough so that they were able to let one go. And Willie Gay has transitioned on to the New Orleans Saints, but they still got Drew Tranquil, Leo Chanel, and Nick Bolton, all of which I like. Drew Tranquil had 78 tackles, 4.5 sacks. Leo Chanel, 3 sacks, 65 tackles, and then Nick Bolton had 60 tackles. Nick only played in 8 games. I think Nick is the best one out of the bunch. He only played in 8 games last year. Leo played in all 17. Drew Tranquil played in 16 of those games. But I think Nick is the best of those 3. And the thing I like about this defense, of everybody that's going to start, they were all there last year. So they real familiar with the scheme, and they kept their coach and everything. So they're going to have a lot of continuity on this defense. With the secondary, now they lost Snead to the Titans, and then Trent McDuffie is the lead dog in this secondary as far as the corners, but he's considered a nickel corner. But he's still going to play a lot more than these other 2 guys. Last year he had 7 passes defended, and as good as Trent was, he didn't have a pick last year at all. In the room with Trent, Joshua Williams, 18 tackles, 5 passes defended. Then Jalen Watson had 60 passes defended with 2 sacks and 33 combined tackles. Trent's the guy. These other 2 gonna have to show up because a lot of people they're not gonna test Trent. They're gonna make Josh and Jalen see what they can do, and then if they can hold up, then it may pop off like that. But those 2 guys are going to get tested early and often in 2024. I can guarantee you that. On the very back end, the 2 safeties, Justin Reed, who can do pretty much everything. And like I said earlier in an earlier episode, if you got the stat sheet stuffer at safety, you got a good guy. Justin Reed, 1 interception, 11 passes defended, 7 passes defended, I'm sorry, forced fumble, 3 sacks, 95 tackles, 5 TFLs, 5 QB hits. Stat sheet stuff. Always around the line of scrimmage. Can play the post safety, can play 2 high safety if you need to. Justin Reed can do a little bit of it all, and he's a good one back there. And back there with him is Brian Cook, who played in 12 games last year, 42 tackles, I'm sorry. He had 2 passes defended, and he also had an interception. So let's take a look at each individual room, see where I have them ranked, and see if you agree or disagree with me. So we're in that quarterback room. I have it number 1. Running backs, 18. Wide receivers, 20. Tight ends, 3. O-line, 9. Defensive line edge, 19. Linebackers, 8. Cornerbacks, 4. And safeties, 24. Let's take a look at their draft picks and see where they fit in the 2024 season. So the first pick is Xavier Worthy, and he's definitely going to be in that conversation in the wide receiver room, especially if Rashee Rice gets suspended. He'll get a lot of reps early and get to testify early in the NFL. Second round pick, Kingsley Samatea from BYU. Can play tackle. But they got two good guards, so he'll probably end up being a backup tackle if Morris or Taylor, falls off or doesn't play up to his standards. I can see him getting in there, but he's more of a project. Jared Wiley was that third pick, tight end out of TCU. We talked about him being the number 3 tight end. Jaden Hicks, DB out of Washington State, could definitely get an opportunity to play with Trent McDuffie being the only established corner in that room. Hunter Norzen, the offensive lineman of Penn State. If he plays some tackle, maybe, but I think Kingsley was definitely the 5th option up there. Well, I'm sorry, the 6th option up there. Kamal Hayden, another DB. Again, all the DBs got an opportunity to play opposite of McDuffie. Opposite of McDuffie. And then CJ Hansen, a guard from Holy Cross. With their guard situation, I don't think there's no chance that CJ gets in unless there's injury. But those are the Kansas City Chiefs draft picks, and again, they're returning world champions. They're tied for number 3 in the most talented power rankings. So I appreciate you guys for coming out. If you have not liked the video, please do so. If you have not subscribed, please do that. Training camps are starting up, so the different videos will be popping off soon. We got 3 days left of the countdown, so I appreciate it. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and do that, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace and love.